Today I'm joined by Ilan Konrad, and this is fantastic for me. Thank you so much, Ilan, for coming on. You're the creative director of this brilliant new game, and I would like you to tell me the pitch. Tell me what exactly we are getting.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me on. So the pitch is it's different for whether you're a Minecraft player, whether you're a D&D player. I know that you focus on D&D, so if you're a D&D player, the pitch is even if you want nothing to do with Minecraft or not interested in it, this is a new way to experience D&D. It is not a D&D simulator, like it's not Baldur's Gate 3, but it is a story set in the world that evokes the feelings, the emotions, the themes, and the lore of Dungeons & Dragons, and specifically the Forgotten Realms. So this is an opportunity to get to know some really cool characters, lots of great voice acting, and to engage with really a brand new thing.
Yes. Now, this is an adventure map. I think that needs stating, which seems to be missing from a lot of the upfront advertising. You know, I thought, along with many others, we were getting a standalone story mode, legends, dungeons. An adventure map is its own beast. The best adventure map I've personally played, I have to say, not just through bias for the system. So what were then the challenges of the creative process?
Well, the creative process for this, what we started out with, right, was we started at looking, we had the partnership with Wizards of the Coast, and we said, all right, well, what do we want to do with this? They basically told us, don't worry about breaking it. Like, don't worry about breaking the D&D lore. We'll tell you if you go too far, have fun. It's a playground. Yeah. And basically, and that was great to hear as a partner. So basically we looked at, okay, well, what are the essential pillars of D&D? What are the important things that we focus on? What do we want to sacrifice in order to maintain something else? So we looked at the pillars of storytelling, the pillars of character customization, the pillar of combat. And essentially we sort of looked at where do we want those trade-offs to happen? We made some trade-offs in character customization and in a couple of other areas, because the most important thing to us as a studio is storytelling. We wanted to be able to, especially in Minecraft, where not a lot of really meaningful stories often get told. We wanted to tell a meaningful story, have really strong, great characters people could connect to, and while we're at it, overhaul combat a little bit. So we looked at that and we said, all right, so we know we want this sort of buddy adventure, where we have somebody who's always with you and their relationship grows over time. And here's the pitch for the story. And Wizards of the Coast actually came back to us and said, this is great, but you know, this is really accidentally, we didn't know, it was really coincidentally similar to the story for Baldur's Gate 3 before it had come out.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, we changed that a little bit. So we rewrote the story because we accidentally were too similar. Basically we kind of went from there, figuring out how to adapt each of these systems. What do we want to keep? What do we want to change? How to really do right by the community.
Yeah, because you've got to balance the freedom of movement that Minecraft gives you, in a sense. And yet you've got the rules and mechanics that people expect of D&D. So were there many conversations then about how we can do it best?
Precisely, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that's been in the press releases about this is that, as I've said, it's not Baldur's Gate 3. It's not a D&D simulator. And we knew from the beginning, actually, Wizards of the Coast told us, don't try and make a D&D simulator. That's not what we want. So we looked at the really big decision, the big discussion, which is, from what I can tell, is what's sort of dividing people a little bit already, is Minecraft is so open world. That's its pillar. And so is D&D. And what we've had to do, though, is because we are an indie studio and we only had a limited time to work on this, it was decided that we really wanted to, in the interest of doing our best storytelling that we could do, we wanted a more linear experience. The dialogue does branch, and there's a big choice at the end you can make. And there's lots and lots of different stuff to see if you play it again and again. But the ultimate path of the story remains the same. You don't get a special scene that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. You'll get special dialogue. And there was a lot of discussion about that because we were like, yeah, this seems like essential. And ultimately we decided, Baldur's Gate has the resources to do that kind of thing. Let's let them do it. Let's focus on what we're capable of doing. What we're uniquely capable of doing is telling a story that's high production, very cinematic. Let's use the skills that we've built over the years as a studio to make this happen. And I think ultimately it was the right choice.
Yes, what Minecraft has always been lacking for me is the coming across many different villages, things of interest. Whereas in your adventure map, the whole cities are there. You go into Candlekeep. You're not just walking along barren wastelands. So it really ticks a box that for me. But obviously you've got the railroadiness of the story because
I won't go too much into it, but there is a lot of cut content that we had that, made the cities really feel more alive. Unfortunately, just due to technical considerations, we aren't able to include that in the final product.
So the modding community, it's big in Minecraft. Will they have the ability to ever add or create content to this?
No. So the other thing is that people in this industry will be very particular about the difference between the term mod, add-on, map, DLC. So typically when we talk about mods, we're talking about modifying a game's code and actually recompiling it or using some sort of API to modify it. What we do here, and what all Minecraft DLC does, is it's just using the tools provided by the game. So we're not changing any game code. We're using all of the tools at our disposal, and no one has to modify their client. So unfortunately, just the way the marketplace works, this is a not standalone, but it is a standalone DLC, if you will.
It's locked, essentially.
Correct. We will be patching it to make improvements and to fix bugs and so forth. But yes, what you see is what you get. But I think it's a quite nice little package.
So how do you make it accessible for all ages? I'm 49 and I want to play it. And, Minecraft itself does, veer towards younger people. So what's that consideration like?
That's a great question. So that was a huge consideration for us, and accessibility for us as a studio is extremely important, not just for age ranges, but for people with disabilities as well. And our maps that we make as third-party content, things that are not officially licensed, those also tend to be geared towards a older audience, more adolescent than young age. So we already had sort of trod that territory. The hard thing was, when you want to tell a difficult or meaningful story in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Often you'll do things that are like really gory or disturbing or really emotional. You want to really connect to your players. We are limited to the restrictions of the E10 plus rating on Minecraft. So it was really difficult figuring out how to say something meaningful, something deep, something that both kids and adults can connect to. And without getting too much into spoiler territory, we think that forgiveness is something that is relatable, whether somebody is fundamentally good or not. And to a certain extent, later in the game, consent is also a very important discussion to have, even from a very young age. And so we wanted to explore those ideas as well. We wanted to, to be fair, I think the writing is a little bit advanced for Minecraft's typical age range. I think we sort of made the decision early on, we want to tell this story. It's worth it. As long as kids are able to play it, it's good. So the combat is a little bit easier than you might want in most places, or a couple of places where it's particularly difficult. And some of the puzzles are difficult. I definitely think that this is veering more on the side of the older audience of Minecraft in terms of who this is made for, which is a risk. But we did have beta testers of all ages, and we wanted to make sure that it was accessible for everyone in Minecraft's audience who's able to play adventure maps.
Wonderful. Yeah. So what can you say about the art style that you've chosen?
I can't say a ton in terms of the art style itself, just because I don't really have the vocabulary for it. And our art director isn't here. But I will say that, as with all of the things that we do, we want to maintain that Minecraft style. And that was important for us in deciding to do real-time combat as well and not turn-based. That we wanted to still give the Minecraft feel even when we're overhauling everything. So by the way, combat is custom combat, so it is still new, but it's still real-time. So the art style is still voxelized. It uses cubes, but we're able to communicate a lot of different things like curves. Like behind me, you can see the beholder there, the eye stalks made of the different cubes. Another thing that we did in this map that we haven't really seen before is use of animation kinematics, forward and inverse kinematics, which refers to the idea of either reacting or having an effect on the environment or other parts of the body. So for example, when the beholder moves its body, the eye stalks move from their base. So in other words, the eyes drag behind a little bit. That's something you see in all games, but you'll never see that in Minecraft.
Yes.
And that was a really cool thing. On the other side, you might have Vair, who's the gold dragon. His tail, when he needs to turn around in a tight area, his tail will curl up a little bit so it doesn't clip in as much into the wall.
Yeah.
That was really important for us. We spent a long time working on that to try and really improve not just the professionalism and quality of the map, but I think the immersion as well, really making you feel like this is its own game, because it is.
So what was the biggest headache you had to face?
Well, the biggest headache, we said we weren't going to talk about it, but I'll touch on it a little bit, is the last 6 months. That for those who have been paying attention, we originally announced the product in March, I believe, and that it was supposed to be coming in spring. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of technical problems. This is the most demanding map, at least official map, that Minecraft has ever released. It needs a lot of RAM. It uses a lot of different interconnected systems. It uses a lot of different tricks that we have. So what was confusing is basically we were having different test results in our studio than we were on the marketplace. And it was just sort of a whole thing. We spent 6 months trying to optimize it and really, investigating with all the different companies and the platforms. And ultimately, we did the best we could.
So yeah, because it was coming out, and then just disappeared. There was absolutely nothing, and we were all like,
"Believe me, we wanted to say something.
Yeah,
we wanted to say something. We were unable to."
That's just business, isn't it? So can we address one more little niggle? Why not the PlayStation?
It is a performance concern. It was basically, like I said, we were having problems on lots of different platforms, and although Minecraft is supposed to be the same on all platforms, ultimately all platforms are different, and you have to have adapt your code differently. I don't know the behind the scenes exactly of what's going on, but basically when it comes to things like this, we are uncovering discrepancies between Minecraft in one version and Minecraft in another. Not to mention just devices having different amounts of RAM and capabilities. RAM is the big one. And so being unable to, that's sort of a black box for us. We, unlike modding, we don't really get to see into the code and investigate it ourselves. And, we're just one map out of many that are being released. So unfortunately, there was only so much that we could do there. But it is a combination of factors. And I know that there are continuing to be investigations going on regarding this.
Yes. So what are you most pleased about now that it's out? Looking at the game, what's your little, yeah, that's great. We pulled it off.
Oh, man. I mean, the whole thing, but I'm so proud of the team. I was also the voice director, and I do a lot of voices in the game.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and that was such a joy for me. I've done a lot of directing, and I have a lot of acting voiceover experience in the past. But this was the first time that we did a game with such extended... we've done extended voiceover before, but actually getting to work with the actors live on each of these things, we basically did all the recording in the course of maybe 3 weeks, and just hours and hours a day of sitting with actors and, retaking lines and giving direction. And the most important thing to me in a directing class I once took, they said that you can almost label different parts of your direction as having different targets. So this part is for the audience, or this part is for the writer, or this part is for me. This is a selfish thing for me. This is the so even though I am concerned with the whole game and I want everything to be good, for me, the personal thing that was like, this is for me, is the bonding and relationship and emotion between Katra, the player character, and Vair. We worked really hard on making sure that that relationship develops over time throughout the campaign, and that we also present a morally difficult question for people. I don't think it's really a spoiler to say that the question at the end is, how do you want your relationship with Vair to continue or not continue? And I think there are 4 or 5 different options and like 4 endings or something.
Right.
And I have a personal favorite, which actually, if you would let me, I would love to talk about it and give a spoiler warning.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So big spoiler warning. I will tell you which one I'm going to talk about. I won't talk about the other ones. So I am talking about what will happen if in the last choice you choose leave me alone for Vair, and you say, I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
So many would big spoiler. Here we go. Many would say that is the bad ending, because you have fractured. How far are you into the game?
Candlekeep.
Okay, great. So
I'm a paladin.
I won't spoil too much, but basically there's a betrayal by Vair.
Okay.
And he lies to you. And there's a rift between you two, and there's ultimately a redemption. But the question is, do you accept that redemption?
Right.
And the writing of this particular choice, where you say, leave me alone, is partially inspired by, or rather reminiscent of, the especially recent political landscape where people have started to feel like they have had to cut family members from their lives for one reason or another, or whether it is, family members not accepting them, or having done something, or holding, really questionable beliefs, or in whatever capacity that may mean to you as a player or listener. And something that I think is not addressed enough in media is, how do you deal with that difficult decision? Because it also depends on your culture. There's some cultures that say, no, absolutely, no matter what happens, family is family. Family is the most important thing. You cannot turn your back on family. There are other cultures that say, no, you have to do what's best for yourself. And that's evolving over time. And anyway, all of this is to say that making that choice to me, is not the bad ending, but the hopeful ending. Because Katra does not say, I hate you, go away forever, I hate you. It's a really hard decision for her. We tend to, Katra uses they, them, but we tend to say her because the actress is her. So Katra, it's a really hard decision. And they're very emotional about it because they don't want to cut Vair out of their life. But they have to, in order to make a healthy decision for themselves. Anyway, I could go on about this forever, but the reason I brought that up is because I think that is the most touching moment of the game that I wanted to highlight and make sure I got to talk about.
Yes. So the future, you talked about patches. Are we going to get a sequel or something else similar?
I cannot really talk about that, unfortunately.
You can't.
We are certainly.
You must have something in the back of your head. You must have, right?
I have something in the back of my head for sure. Yeah. But I can't confirm or deny anything, just for legal reasons. But we are working on new things all the time. We are working on third-party things as well. So we're continuing to do our own IPs, but also we have more IP projects coming out in the future. So keep an eye on it. We've also done, if you want to check more of our stuff out, we did for the 50th anniversary of the Magic Kingdom in Disney, we did a recreation of that as well, if you want to check that out. We did a project with the Nature Conservancy when they released mangrove trees in Minecraft, and we made a map called Rooted Together. And
And you've got your Redstone Scientist YouTube channel. People can check that out, of course.
Yes, I haven't used it in a very long time, but yes.
Last question is going to be a little bit stupid. How was Todd Kenrick? I saw you. Is he on speed dial now with you? I saw you on his little video.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I really got thrown into that interview not knowing what was happening.
Right.
I got a email or a Slack message that was like, "Hey, are you available for an interview at this time?" I didn't know who the interview was with or what it was for, and I just showed up, and they were like, "Just be prepared to answer questions."
Yeah.
And I had a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Like a little milestone that would be. Well, thank you so much. Loving the game so far, and thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.